Kia ora and welcome to this series of Eden's webinars. It's designed to support our professional community in their battle with COVID-19. Today our interviewees are Tracy and Kylie from Tourism Recreation Conservation, better known as TRC. Tracy and Kylie will be presenting on destination planning with a focus on resilience. Kylie is an experienced tourism marketing specialist with over 20 years working in the private and public tourism sectors. She has an extensive portfolio of knowledge related to international and regional trade marketing, but her passion and expertise lies in values-based tourism, especially Māori and Indigenous tourism experiences. I asked Kylie to give me one funny thing about her past that not too many people would know. And she told me that she once trialled for a New Zealand pop band, but failed spectacularly, as did the pop band. So maybe they got that decision wrong. Tracy. Tracy has served with Tourism New Zealand for 13 years, both on and offshore. She has also served as General Manager of RTO Destination Marlborough for 8 years. Tracy has built an impressive work experience working with iwi and government organisations within New Zealand, something that few people will know about Tracy, and there were a lot of stories I could have chosen from here. was that she was bitten by a love-struck orangutan called Jimmy whilst on holiday in East Malaysia. That's a story few people can lay claim to. A warm welcome to Tracy and Kylie. And Kylie, over to you.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi kia koutou katoa. I thought I would start just with a short karakia before we lead into our day. I'm going to hand it off to Tracy just shortly to introduce who we are and what we'll be talking about. But just to kick us off, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E he ake ana te atakura he tio, he hoka, he hauhunga, haumie hui e, tāhiki e. Over to you, Trace. I'll just start the share screen. She says, hoping technology works with me.
Thank you, Kylie, and thank you everyone for joining us today, and of course all the people that will be catching up on this at a later date. And thank you, Susan, for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be part of the EDNZ community and to be able to share this with you today. So just a little bit about TRC. We are tourism, recreation and conservation consultants. We have consultants and associates across Australia, New Zealand and more further afield. So TRC is about providing destination management planning, product development, feasibility and business case services through to responding to the current need for businesses to adjust in the wake of lockdown. In the recreation space, we're most well known for our expertise as trail planners, but this extends to all natural landscape recreation planning and development. And in the conservation space, recognising the significance of conservation estate and how to manage it appropriately, and working with cultural conservation, so supporting Indigenous people across multiple countries to achieve their aspirations for tourism. We're a member of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and what sets us apart, and you would have heard from the introductions of both Kylie and I, is that we're all practitioners from the field. So we have been working in tourism, in recreation and in conservation for many years, and bringing those expertise together means we provide really practical solutions for our clients. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Kylie. Kylie's Dunedin based in New Zealand and I am based in Marlborough. And today we're going to be sharing with you some insights around destination planning with purpose. So thinking about a resilient future. Not going to focus specifically on COVID-19, but recognising our destination planning needs to be resilient to manage across any circumstance that is coming our way, because we know this isn't going to be the last of them. So Kylie, I'll hand it on to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I think one of my passions with what it is that we'll be talking about today is very much around the fact that not only do I work for TRC as a consultant, but I'm also an operator. So I run a Māori tourism based operation down here in Dunedin with my whānau, And understanding resiliency from a destination perspective and understanding resiliency from an operator's perspective is very near and dear to my heart. And one of the things, or one of the whakatoki or proverbs that has really resonated with me over the last few months is this one: ka whate te tai, ka pau te tōria. When the tide ebbs, the oyster catcher strikes. And it really does resonate, and I think it's more relevant today than it has been in the past for me, because during this time of global disruption, and it's pretty big, it's pretty immense, and our industry is limping towards an uncertain future, short to medium and even long term, we're unsure of what lies ahead. And what we can do within this time is use this time to ensure that we are setting ourselves, our destinations and our industry on the right path towards being more sustainable and being able to ride out not only this wave, but the next one too, and ensure that we are planning with purpose to manage our destinations. But before we can do that, and before we can plan to manage a destination, we need to kind of understand if there have been any changes to how travellers potentially choose to travel. So throughout the last few months, there's been a lot, just heaps of discussion around the world around what travel might look like post-COVID. And we still don't know because we're not there yet. But these changing trends will need to be important as we start to shape how destinations should be developed, how they should be managed, and how they should be marketed. And one trend in particular that has come through really strong in a lot of the research that we've read is that travellers want to know that they are safe. They want to feel safe. They want to know that their destinations, the operators they are using, that they're putting their health and safety first. It'll probably no longer be as appealing for some travellers to undertake large-scale tourism experiences, and they're going to actively seek smaller, more intimate experiences to take part in. They will want to know all of the options and explore all the alternatives that they might be able to take in within a destination. So lead times might get longer, possibly longer than what we would normally expect from some of our markets. We should take that into account as we move forward. Travellers have always been influenced by the recommendations and reviews of others. We see that in our own business. A lot of people come to us based on the recommendations that they've read and the reviews that they've read. But I think that's going to become more important going forward. Knowing that people who have ventured out and have taken part in a particular operator's experience or stayed in a particular destination and then recommends it, I think is going to play a really large role, or a larger role than normal, at the point of decision making. And more travellers will actively look to travel outside of traditional seasons to limit the number of people they'll come in contact with, maybe. And I think along the same vein, they might, at least in the short to medium term, also look for destinations that are a little closer to home. For a few reasons, but I think the main reason, especially right now, would be that it's closer. If it becomes necessary for them to have to go home, a close destination makes it easier for them to do so. Transport is constrained. It's around the world, and I think it will remain so for an undetermined amount of time. Airlines, some of them are hemorrhaging right now, some have closed their doors for good. It is unsure how strong the cruise sector, for example, will come back, or when, and that's quite important down here in Puti Dunedin. And I think that will cause some travellers to rethink how they travel and rethink their transport options and what's available to them. And I believe that overall, travellers will take a more purposeful and measured approach to destination choice, and it would benefit destinations and operators like ourselves to take a similar stance when planning on how to manage the destination and even our own operations. So TRC has spent a lot of time over the last few months really thinking about what destinations should take into consideration as they look to find ways of working in order to meet those changing trends. As with planning processes, the list of considerations is long, it's large. But there are a few that should be at the top of mind in order to adapt these changing travel trends that are becoming apparent and will become more apparent as we move through these processes. And we want to place our destinations on the front foot when borders are open and people are able to access travel a little bit more than they are able to now. So building resiliency into any planning process is imperative. Scenario-based planning as a tool is extremely helpful in order to ascertain what constraints and limitations can fall upon a destination due to the nature of the level of global or national or local disruption that might occur. This assists us in being able to plan for a multitude of different events with different impacts. In addition to that, ensuring that that ethos of resiliency flows into the industry as well. This will help to ensure more stability in the next global disruptor, because I think there will definitely be one. It might not be a pandemic. I think it will possibly more likely be climate change potentially that would create a larger scale disruption, and that disruption may or may not be to the level that we're facing at the moment. But let's plan for different scenarios so that we can assist the destination and our industry to be more resilient as we move forward. In order to encourage length of stay, operators need to, in destinations and destinations themselves, need to think more collaborative advantage and less about competitive advantage. And that should be encouraged at all levels. Give people a reason to stay longer. We all know this. We give people a reason to stay longer, they will inevitably spend more. A key part of meeting the expectation of travellers will be to ensure we are using the right language in order to market the destination and depict our unique value propositions in the right way that can help to connect people, place, and stories. Once we have made that language change, we're now looking and talking directly to those who are making decisions of when and where to travel. Part of a planning process is to explore the opportunities to create experiences, meet those changing expectations, and assist in further defining the destination. Now it's about how to ensure we have the right experiences within the destination to connect people, place, and stories to ensure visitors can engage with destinations in the best way possible. And if we're taking all these considerations into account, then we are starting to engage in a planning process with purpose. But what does that actually look like? Any type of destination management planning starts with the 4 core elements of a destination: people, place, and stories, the true heart and soul of a destination. It's all about where we are, who we meet, and the stories interpretation that is offered to really connect it all together. It then highlights the experience and industry that provide the opportunity for true, authentic engagement for visitors with people, place, and stories. It's the infrastructure and planning processes that exist to support all 4 core elements and the community as a whole. And then, of course, it's definitely about looking at our potential visitor mix, the distribution channel, looking at who we market to, where we market, how we market, and engaging with those who the destination will really resonate most with. And of course, those who are selling it, ensuring that they can sell our destination and our experiences appropriately. Destination management planning with purpose will define what success will look like for a destination, economically, environmentally, culturally, and socially, across all 4 core elements of the destination. And at the same time, while we're defining what that success will look like, we will place the benefit, well-being, and value of the community across the entire process. What this does is produce an outcome that is both resilient and sustainable in nature. But the final piece of the puzzle that will guarantee if a destination management plan can and will be successful into the future is to ensure that it has been co-designed. So it's something that has been co-designed with input from local government, from industry, from iwi, from community, from stakeholders, visitors, even travel trade, from the very beginning of the process right through to the end. So in a nutshell, what destination management planning is with purpose, it's providing a sustainable, positive outcomes for regional communities through a collaborative and inclusive approach to destination management. When we look at it from TRC's perspective, we see the approach with purpose delivers a multitude of positive benefits, and they can fall into 6 distinct categories. They deliver cultural benefits, they inspire environmental custodianship, they guide investment and collaboration, we can ensure visitor satisfaction and yield, we enable community benefits and civic pride, and of course grow jobs and businesses. We will look at each of these in more detail over the next few slides to get a better understanding of what this approach can actually deliver for destinations. The first one is around delivering cultural benefits. When consulting or communicating or engaging with communities, and in particular Māori stakeholders within the destination, it is vital that the process is purposeful. And I will use that word a lot during this presentation. But in order to gain a deeper understanding of the aspirations for the people, place, and stories within that destination, the process needs to be purposeful. Over the years, and I spent many years with Tourism New Zealand as the Māori Development Manager, and prior to that working within trade marketing, and now as my own, as a director of our own whānau run business, I have seen engagement, especially with Māori communities, being completed at the end of the process in order to inform that community of the outcome of a project process, which, to be fair, has probably not been the best way or delivered the best results. It's better to be to engage in a more purposeful engagement process, because it's not a matter of informing the community, but more ensuring that their expectations and aspirations are captured at the beginning of the process and right throughout the design of the plan. It needs to be collaborative and empowering in nature. And if you're aware of the International Association of Public Participation spectrum, it needs to fall very much to the right of that spectrum. It needs to be empowering, it needs to be collaborative in nature to lead to a more inclusive and positive outcome for the entire community, especially as the process takes into account community expectations and resources available to them in order to minimise the potential of the opportunities, in order to maximise the potential of the opportunities that are being presented. Specifically for Māori communities, there is the potential to foster and embrace tourism as an economic driver, and then enable them to achieve their tourism aspirations and to provide employment opportunities that will give younger generations an opportunity and a reason to stay local or even to return home. This is featured as an aspiration for hapu around the country who are seeing their marae only being used at times of mourning or celebration and not the cornerstone of everyday life it once was. So this tourism gives them an opportunity to keep those younger generations at home. With a stronger emphasis on purposeful engagement, there is also the opportunity to deliver a range of experiences and stories that can be used to grow the experience offering, within a destination and build a solid and lasting connection between people and places through the stories and the interpretation that connect the two and bring the experience to a more fuller and rounded out experience. When it comes to custodianship or guardianship within our destinations, I just wanted to talk about one thing from our perspective. Our industry, when we should be looking broader when we're thinking than just environmentally when we're trying to embrace custodianship. If we are to embrace the true meaning behind kaitiakitanga, the guiding principle that our industry has embraced for many years, it is to understand that this principle is about custodianship across all environments, environmental, social and cultural, and sometimes even economic. So a purposeful destination approach to management places sustainability across all environments at its core. We can then use our industry to drive benefit back into our natural environments and into our communities by fostering tourism purpose brands within the destination. A purpose brand has a strong sense of reciprocity built into its fabric, so it's a way for an operator to give back in some way to support the environmental supporting communities. Our whānau owned and operated business here in Dunedin is a purpose brand. So a portion of every tour purchased with us goes back into community programs such as predator control on the peninsula. I'm pointing like you know where it is, it's just behind me. So it's predator control on the peninsula or the planting of native trees. We speak at schools, we attend lectures at the university, and they could be around, you know, Indigenous business, working and living sustainably, and we work to mitigate and minimise our carbon footprint. So we've actually gone to the expense of understanding what our carbon footprint is as business and worked to understand how to mitigate it. So tourism purpose brands really do have a place moving forward as we plan purposefully. As an industry, by fostering these brands, we are also ensuring that guardianship of our natural and cultural assets among the community is ensured. And ultimately, a destination plan with purpose will encompass the Global Sustainable Development Goals as an integral part of the planning process. Now, just as a reminder, here are the 17 SDGs in all their glory. For a purposeful destination management plan, it might be a process of refining which of these goals resonate more with your destination, or determining which one should feature but might not have the emphasis that it should. It is also about identifying the role that tourism will play and will have, the role that tourism will have to support some of these goals, as opposed to other sectors within the industry sectors within your regions. Guiding investment and collaboration. When it comes to understanding the benefits of purposeful planning and investment, from an investment and collaborative perspective, it is once again looking more collaborative advantage over competitive advantage. Did I get that right? With strong collaborative partnerships within a destination or between regions that surround the destination that resonate with the values and expectations of potential markets, we can drive visitor length of stay. This in turn, of course, drives the economic impact of tourism to the industry to build a stronger destination that is more appealing to investors. It is also about ensuring that any investment within the destination, whether it be public or private, can be aligned beneath the same plan to ensure that there is infrastructure in place to support the plans, and potentially an operator could run a paid experience through it. And ultimately, if we can develop connections and potential investor growth in infrastructure or experiences, we can identify packaging opportunities and partnerships that again will drive a true economic benefit back into the destination. An important role for a strong destination management plan is ensuring visitors are satisfied with their destination experience and that there is growth and strong yield for the industry. To build this into the plan, it would be necessary to identify what success looks like for the destination. And this metric, could the metric that we've used before, or that we found that was once applicable, is it still applicable? Is it still attainable? And is it sustainable? Or is it potentially worth considering balance between value over volume, driving premium products that charge a premium price, but targeting smaller, more intimate group numbers? So it's a consideration to bring to the board. No matter the metric used to define what success looks like for us, we must ensure that the visitor experience is of the highest quality and our service standards exceed the expectations of our visitors. This will go a long way to ensuring a high level of visitor satisfaction in the destination and the ability to price it accordingly, to be fair. We need to ensure that we have adequate, I don't know why that's popped up down there, but we need to ensure that we provide adequate tools and that those tools are in place to help us track and measure visitor satisfaction levels. We need to provide capability building resources for businesses, for them to be able to not just expand and develop their own internal businesses, but find out a way to connect those businesses back into the broader offering throughout the destination. Provide value-add solutions over competing on price. So this isn't about, for some operators, their plan is to simply deliver the same experience that another operator is delivering, but the only competition you can compete on, the only battlefield you have to compete on in that respect is price. Whereas if you're adding value into your operation and your solution provides value to the experience, then you've got the ability to, I guess, compete more around what you offer and the experience and service you provide, not just the price that you charge. And of course, engaging with our visitors through the satisfaction levels and yield will lift when visitors can engage better with the destination through the powerful storytelling that we can provide, and that provides authentic connection to our local people and our local landscapes. Enabling community benefits and driving civic pride is a powerful outcome of a destination management plan with purpose. Ensuring that local communities are engaged with the planning process and can bring stories to life and create an ingrained values proposition. Local people telling local stories within the natural environments that they call home. This process also drives a strong sense of civic pride for locals that can influence VFR, visiting friends and family, and build social license of tourism within the community. There is the ability to provide support systems and processes for all communities within a destination with a fully co-designed approach to planning. Purposeful planning also recognises the well-being imperatives within the community, ensures that those imperatives help to form any solutions offered and that they are tailored accordingly. We can also provide the identification of any infrastructure barriers or limitations that the community might have that could constrain economic benefit, whilst ensuring that the solutions being offered align with and help to influence and shape regional strategies. A strong visitor economy within a destination helps to bring new money into the region through investment and visitor spend. This allows businesses to foster the capability to be more sustainable and provide sustainable employment opportunities for the community, and also drive downstream benefits into the local supplier network. Identifying experience development opportunities that might be start-up, scale-up or power-up in nature, and developing pathways to export readiness for each of those categories is a very powerful start to driving businesses growth and driving job growth within a region. From a startup perspective, it is about providing business planning assistance, experience assessments, and building community benefit and purpose into each operation. And ensuring that businesses know, no matter if they are startup, scale up or power up, but they have the resiliency, or they have built resiliency into their business planning to match that resiliency that's being fostered at a destination level. And by supporting businesses and identifying opportunities for growth and ensuring a sustainable and resilient future for the visitor economy and the visitor industry within the destination, we can actively work to maintain and grow employment for locals and even creating career pathways for some of our younger generations. So over the past few minutes, for about 15, 20 minutes or so, we've been unwrapping what a destination management plan with a purpose and identifying some of the benefits that would come from employing this type of planning process. But if we think back to one of my earlier slides, that showed the process as a diagram, you'll hopefully remember that there was this word that sticks out on both sides of the diagram, and it's so important that it appears twice: co-design. When taking a process like destination management planning process, and we're doing this with purpose, it is our belief that it should be co-designed with touch points into councils, communities, industry, stakeholders, iwi visitors, and even our travel trade, as I said before, to ensure that the plan encompasses all of those industries, all of those members of our communities that we need to drive a successful destination management plan. And as always, by doing this, there are benefits to developing the plan in this manner. What is becoming increasingly more obvious over the past few months is that there is true power in the local community as a customer base for our visitor economies. At the moment, many of the people we're taking out here on our tours are Dunedin or drivable from Dunedin in terms of the market. And a collaborative, more co-designed approach ensures that our communities, who are effectively our customer base at the moment, and stakeholders all become active participants in the process, which then enables constructive and mutually beneficial relationships to be fostered, which is really important. This level of participation and transparency can often result in unexpected outcomes that have benefits beyond even those that we've thought of. It can also foster a strong sense of ownership in the design, which will in turn drive a strong sense of local pride and advocacy through purposeful engagement within the community. This brings me to the end of the presentation today, and I'm keen to get any questions at the end, but I hope it's given you a little bit of a solid sense of what destination management planning with purpose can look like and what it can yield for destinations. But before we look to any of the questions that may have been raised throughout the presentation, I'd like to kind of leave as I started with the whakatoki. And this whakatoki, this Māori proverb, speaks to the heart of what this process, this destination management planning with purpose, is designed to do. Whatu ngarungaru te tangata toi tū te whenua. A man disappears from sight, the land remains. So building destination management plans that are purposeful, that have community well-being and sustainable guardianship for all our environments, social, cultural and natural at its heart, we have a hope of ensuring that what remains now after we have passed through our landscapes stands strong and tall and sustains future generations to come. And that is what this process is designed to do. It's quite a powerful process, and it definitely resonates a lot with those who are delivering the experience, but also those who are partaking in the experience at the same time. So thank you for your time today and for sticking through the entire presentation, for those of you who did. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and hand it back over to you, Susan, to see if there are any questions that were raised throughout the presentation, or if there's anything further that would like to be discussed. Oh look, hey, people did stay.
And why wouldn't
I always worry that people just disappear and I'm talking to myself?
No, we're all here, listening avidly. I'm going to ask, while people are thinking about questions, I'm going to ask a question, if I may. And it's, I'm going to take a very tangible example. One of the things that I did when I first moved from Australia to New Zealand was to build the Oamaru Blue Penguin colony down in North Otago, which became a fantastic attraction for that part of the world, because people, to view the penguins, have to stay into dusk when they come back home from sea. And people are very reluctant to go beyond their destination at dusk. So our visitor numbers increased dramatically. And most of them, the majority of them, there was a great deal of international visitors, some national and very few domestic, very few locals. I'm just wondering how you would ensure the survivability of that product, like, and how you would plan for it going forwards. I've got Margaret Munro on the call. I don't know if she would like to add anything to that question or give some insights, further insights about it. But I just feel that if you've got a very tangible example, then it might help to break down some of that wonderful theory and all of the work that you've been doing around scenarios to make it real for people.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment, Susan.
Oh, good, Margaret, go for it.
We've had a phenomenal response from domestic market, probably 10 times higher than we were expecting since we reopened. So that is actually, you know, it's a great win. We really pushed the social media of the colony and what was happening with the penguins throughout the lockdown, with lots of video snapshots of penguins in recovery and being looked after by the wildlife staff there. And that had a huge engagement from around the world. So that was really cool, seeing that aspect of that environmental care that was going on and being maintained through the lockdown. And yeah, and as a result now we've got this uptake in visitors coming to Oamaru to see the penguins and yeah, enjoying seeing the wildlife in its natural environment.
That is great news, Margaret. I'm really thrilled to hear that because it was a baby of mine for 7 years, and I'd like to know how it's going. Margaret, what kind of messages did you take away from this webinar?
Yeah, I'm very much into, and we're trying to bring this into the penguin colony, the environmental story, because that's where the true values of each and every individual, of, you know, as we walk around this planet, can really draw links to, especially with what we've just been through with COVID-19, that how important our local environment around us is and what's in it and its value to us. I think we got into such a busy state of affairs, you know, before COVID hit, that perhaps, you know, as individuals and as a human race, we were ready for a timeout and to engage with what was really important. And I think destination management is all about that. It's about reconnecting the base values of what is important to us as people, which is our environment and what we can control and what we can take out of it, what we can give back to it, is going to be where the strength is going forward with tourism.
Absolutely. I think when we looked at, our business was 85% international and 15% domestic on some of our tours. So we thought, oh, that's us, we're out. You know, we didn't know what leg we had to stand on during this process, but my goodness, the domestic market, what everyone has been doing, even Plan D from down in Dunedin, but a lot of what all of the regions are doing at the moment is really driving that civic pride message, are really engaging people's value system, and it's resonating quite well. So one of our tours that we do is a night tour, and we talk about, you know, we do storytelling under the stars, and so many domestic people are coming out and engaging with that more than what I thought would. So it's really heartening to hear that is happening, you know, on a broader scale than just us, just our wee business, but it's happening also around other parts of the country.
Yeah.
And I think if we think about as we start reconnecting, and that time will come where we're able to start reconnecting with the rest of the world, by having that solidarity of our local community and our domestic community, we go back into this with a really strong baseline, and that voice, that voice of locals to be able to share their stories with others, to invite people into their home regions, is going to be a much more powerful tool. We know word of mouth is one of the most powerful marketing tools in our tool belt, but now more than ever we have the opportunity to build the strength of that, and then as our doors to the world reopen, we're going to be in a really strong position. So it's thinking about that strength of what we have, be able to re-engage with our local community, our domestic community, and then welcome back international visitors as we can. So it's a frustrating time, but also a valuable time to be looking at that. Yeah.
And I think, Susan, just to answer your question from before, which is about how do you as an operator, or how do you as a destination build resiliency within your planning process. It is about understanding those scenarios and going through that planning process and working out what we need to do when those disruptions, whether they're local, national, or global disruptors like we're experiencing now, understand what that might look like for us, and then putting the plans in place to actually deal, or put our destination and our industry in the best foot forward to deal with those disruptions. And I think it's a really powerful exercise to do as a destination, and from a regional perspective, but it's definitely also just about empowering to do it as individual operators, and encouraging our operators to do that as well. Because it looks at, when you break the process down, you look at it across economic, environmental, social, cultural pillars, and working out, right, if this happens, this is what I need to do. And I don't think people were doing that prior to this current global disruptor. But if we had, potentially, we would have been a little bit more prepared for our domestic market. Like myself, I wouldn't have sat there and thought, oh, that's us. You know, we're quiet for a while now. We would have had those scenarios thought through, and we'd have those.
I know my community are a very innovative bunch, so I'm just wondering if there were any other initiatives. Margaret mentioned one. If there are any other initiatives out there that people have used that they might like to share with others. Especially around product development or management. No, they've all gone very quiet. Okay, are there any other comments or questions that people would like to make before we thank Kylie and Tracy? No? Okay, look, thank you so much, Kylie and Tracy. I found that very interesting, especially some of the principles of resilience planning that you've outlined. And it really does open up our job, really, as people involved in the tourism industry. There's a lot more to it than just marketing. So good luck with all of that.
Just before you close the session, could I just do my last wee karakia just to close the circle from a tikanga perspective?
Do.
Unu hia ki tūru tapu nui, kia wātia, kia mama, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairua, e te ara tangata. Koia rā I rungo, whakaire ake ki runga, kia tina, hui e, tai ki e. Sorry, Susan, just wanted to make sure I got that in there before.
Oh, no. Thank you. All right, well, thank you everyone for attending. And just before you go, if I can do a quick plug for the Edens Congress, which will be promoted on Monday. We're doing an online virtual congress from the 7th to 11th of September, and we'll have some very interesting people speaking throughout those 5 days that you can drop into and listen at your will, drop in and out of. And it's been priced very lowly at just over $100, so for the whole 5 days. So this is really just another way of supporting our community in their battle. So I do hope to see some of you there. Watch out for the newsletter that will come through to you on Monday for more detail on that. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for the opportunity.